At the core of English grammar, every sentence is built using clauses. Some of these clauses are complete thoughts that can stand entirely on their own, while others fall flat if you try to read them by themselves. To understand how they interact, look at this diagram. A main clause is like the motorbike. It has a motor and wheels, meaning a subject and a verb, and it can drive away all on its own. A dependent clause is the sidecar. It also has a seat and a wheel, its own subject and verb, but it has no motor. It cannot go anywhere unless it attaches firmly to the main motorbike. We can see this attachment in action in a standard sentence. The dog that has the red collar barked loudly. If we isolate the dependent clause, that has the red collar, we see it has a subject and a verb, but it doesn't express a complete thought by itself. To figure out exactly what job this sidecar is doing, we have to ask which specific word it is describing. In this case, that has the red collar gives us more information about the noun, dog. Because it modifies a noun, we classify it as an adjective clause. This establishes our focus. To identify a dependent clause, we must look past the clause itself and find the word it is leaning on for meaning. There are two specific ways these sidecars function. As we see on the left of this diagram, adjective clauses modify nouns or pronouns and usually begin with connector words like who, that, or which. On the right, adverb clauses modify verbs, adjectives, or other adverbs, answering questions like when, why, or under what condition. They use connectors like because, if, or while. Instead of trying to memorize these lists of connector words, look at what the clause is actually doing in the sentence. Adjective clauses describe people, places, or things. Adverb clauses describe actions or conditions. Sometimes this description requires the dependent clause to physically wedge itself right into the middle of the main clause. Take this sentence. The student who studied hardest got the highest grade. The phrase who studied hardest is interrupting the main thought. But if we look at what it's describing, it traces directly back to the noun, student. That makes it an adjective clause. The clause splits the sentence in half because an adjective clause needs to park as close as possible to the noun it modifies. If we moved it to the very end of the sentence, it would sound like the great studied hard, not the student. Adverb clauses have a bit more freedom. They can often be placed at the very beginning of a sentence. For example, while the music played, the crowd began to dance. When a dependent clause starts a sentence, notice the comma used to separate it from the main thought. While the music played tells us when the action of the crowd took place. It modifies the verb began, confirming it is an adverb clause. Now it's your turn. Pause the video and look at this sentence. I cannot go to the movie unless I finish my homework. Identify the dependent clause, its type, and the exact word it modifies. The dependent clause starts with the connector word unless. Unless I finish my homework sets a conditional restriction on the action of going to the movie. Because it modifies the verb go, it's an adverb clause. Whether the sidecar parks at the front, the middle, or the back of the motorbike, its location doesn't define it. Its classification depends strictly on the word it connects to. Let's apply this to a sentence that combines a few of these structural elements. Read this one carefully. The expensive vase, which sat on the mantel, belongs to my aunt. The connector word which signals our dependent clause, which sat on the mantel. It is clearly describing the vase, a noun, making this an adjective clause. Notice the punctuation here. Because this clause adds extra, non-essential information right in the middle of the sentence, commas act like physical brackets. They package the dependent sidecar neatly inside the main clause, keeping the core thought intact. This branching diagram provides a framework for categorizing the clauses we've covered today. By identifying the anchor word first, the relationship between the motorbike and the sidecar becomes clear. Mastering these sentence structures is a matter of finding the dependent sidecar, isolating it from the main clause, and tracing it directly back to its anchor word.